case you already don't know that, which I'm pretty sure 90% of you do, is Joseph, the one and only Joseph Ferguson, and I'm going to be talking about goodness. Now, if I'm being completely honest, when I first got goodness, I didn't really know what it was. I just kind of was like, oh, and then my entire sermon unintentionally was all about kindness when my buddy ended up telling me. So the definition of goodness is the quality of being morally good. And some good morals that I know of are honesty, respect, integrity, kindness, and positivity. And in Genesis 1:31 it states, everything God creates is good. And now, at my church, I've been participating in the Shepherd Kids Ministry for a bit, and one thing I've noticed is that all the kids that are really young, each one of them show goodness to each other. Each one of them is kind to each other, they all get along, there's no arguments, and they don't start not being good until all of a sudden there was one kid where he was just saying all these bad things, and then he eventually told me, oh, it's okay for me to say it because my mom says it. And so that's what told me that anytime someone is no longer showing goodness or having these good morals, usually because it is taught by someone who's either it's taught by someone who they look up to, or it's taught by their own parents. Now, some people that I would consider to have goodness, one of which would be the one and only Matt Ireton.
Oh.
Wherever he goes, he has
What
a
a
smile
shout
on his
out.
face. Even when kids come in here and they only take the pizza and go, he still shows them love, he still shows them support, he still has a smile on his face wherever we're going. He always has his cheerful Matt Ireton face. Another one would be my leader, Louis Bookout. No matter what happens with any of us or with him or anything, he always has a positive attitude and he always looks for the positivity in things. No matter what's going on, no matter what, even if your day was the most horrible thing, he tries to find something positive. And the last one would be my Nina, or my Tia Yolanda. And she went through a lot of things. She went through drug addiction. She went through a lot of pain. She grew up in an area that wasn't as great. So she grew up without any kind of goodness or church or anything like that. There was no person, but she eventually found and went to church, and she started practicing being a Christian, and basically ended up turning her life around and ended up being probably I'd say out of all my aunts, the nicest and most sweetest, kindest one that out of all of them. And it kind of brings me to the next point, because in 2021 she unfortunately passed, and that brings me to the next point. The absence of goodness is definitely noticed and felt, because after what happened with her, ever since every family event we go to, we do notice that there's just kind of like lack of goodness. We all kind of called her the glue, and so now ever since she passed, it's kind of caused us more to try to practice goodness, which she all wanted us to do. So in a way, because of what happened, there was a good thing that came out of it. Even that's one thing many people told me. And there's even one story about when I was little, and I was running the kids class because I was like a little kid and I was all on fire for God, and I was running. And what happened was that back then I just kind of assumed everybody who went to church was like, oh, they're these wonderful, nice, good people. And as I was running, I had me, my Bible, all my stuff, I was ready, and I tripped and fell. And I dropped all my stuff all over the floor in front of all these people, and they're all looking at me. And for some reason as a kid, I was all just assuming, oh, someone will help me, as I was straggling to get up and getting my Bible and all embarrassed, getting all my stuff. And not one person came to help me. And like initially now I kind of find it a little bit silly and funny that I like focused on it, but then it kind of made me think about it, because when I went inside of the church, I kind of walked in all embarrassed and with scuffs. The thing that affected me more than the injuries I got from that was the fact that not one person helped me or showed me that goodness. So I can't help but think that there's probably so many times where people unintentionally, maybe in their head, notice when someone doesn't show them goodness. Another thing that I've noticed, and especially with me, is that you need good people around you in order to help practice goodness. Now this Sunday, my uncle was telling me about an obstacle course, or he was telling me about mud runs. I don't know if any of you have been in a mud run, but it's basically just like, you have this team and you all are going through all these obstacles and you're helping each other out. But he told me this one and it really stuck out to me. It's this giant, basically like 30-foot long tube, and it basically rotates depending on if you can spin it, but if you try to climb over it by yourself, it will just roll you right back into the ground. So you can't do it by yourself. So you need your team you have to have a team with people that have already went over that obstacle and made it over. So while they're on the other side, they can be rolling that tube in order for you to climb on and be able to easily get over it. And that was one thing that I started thinking about, and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of relates to goodness, because there's plenty of times where I feel like we have obstacles, and if you try to do it by yourself, then that's not going to work. And even 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals." And Proverbs 13:20 states, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." Because if you imagine, if you all try to get over that tube while not already having someone who's made it over that obstacle, you'd all just keep falling back into where you started. And my last point would be, you definitely need the church and the Bible in order to practice goodness. In Romans 12:21, it says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And basically, I can definitely say this is for sure, like, something I've even struggled with, because throughout my life, there's been a lot of, like, parts where I've struggled or I've, like, had things go wrong. And the only thing that has helped me basically was the church, and Louie and Asher and a bunch, like, all these different people from the church helped me out more than anybody from school or even, like, sometimes at home and stuff like that. And especially last year and junior year, there was a lot of stuff kind of going on internally where I didn't really, like, care for myself. I wasn't really that confident. I was kind of, like, not really liking myself, and I was holding it all in, and I was kind of, like, keeping it all to myself and trying to be alone with it and thinking I could get over it by myself, but I couldn't. And it wasn't until I finally, something kind of, like, happened. It was a big thing. But once I finally went to Louie, I finally went to my parents, I finally went to people that I knew were, like, church people that could help me out and get me through it. And each single one of them showed me love, showed me support, showed me kindness, goodness, everything that I kind of needed. And it helped me to get back on track and helped me to get back to where I was. And so, I mean, that kind of, like, that was my mud run tube that I had to get over in a sense. But yeah, so that's kind of like, you know, I don't know what, I guess I'll call it a mud run tube. I don't know what mud run tube you may be needing to get over in order to be able to practice goodness or what it may be. But I guarantee that if you practice goodness, or if you try to, like, read the Bible more, go to church, and if you try to oh, I got myself lost a bit. If you try to kind of, like, practice it more, then you'll definitely see an improvement. Like, I definitely have seen an improvement throughout practicing goodness. And oh, it's 12:30 a.m. A little, I guess I could try to do a prayer out to extend.
You're doing great. You're doing fine.
Because that was basically, yeah, that was like the end of it. I kind of ended up going faster than I thought I would.
Yeah. Nice work, brother.
Stop.